Hello everyone and welcome back to the Athlete Podcast brought to you by Sports for Champions. We are here today with ELISE GLYNN, who's Team GB boxer. Thanks for joining us, ELISE. How are you doing?
No problem, I'm doing good, thank you.
Very good. Obviously you've now partnered with Sports for Champions, so you'll be heading into schools this academic year. I guess we'll sort of start off at the sort of beginning of your life. Has boxing always been something that's interested you, or was that come a little bit later on?
No, it came a bit later on after watching the London Olympics in 2012. I'm very much a girly girl, so I was into like cheerleading, horse riding, pageants, things like that. So yeah, came later on at 13.
13. So when you were 13, was it always boxing that you wanted to go to, or was there a couple of sports that you were choosing between at that time?
I played rugby and I ran cross country for my school, but boxing sort of took over at that point. I had to make a decision and I stuck with boxing, and it's got me to where I am today.
Yeah, exactly. So when you think of sort of, you go back to, you know, being 13, starting out in boxing, was it difficult for you, or did you find sort of girls sort of struggle to get into boxing more so than boys of a similar age?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, when I started boxing, I was told, get out, girls don't box, you should be cooking and cleaning at home for your brothers. So yeah, straight away they didn't want me in the gym, and that's why I'm orthodox rather than southpaw, even though I'm left-handed, because no one paid attention to me. I just copied the boy next to me, but I was so resilient, I just kept coming back, and that's how I am today, and that's where I've got today, because I never gave up.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we spoke a little bit before as well, and you mentioned about you're left-handed, so you class yourself more as a southpaw boxer. Do you think, obviously, having to fight orthodox because you weren't given that training, do you think that sort of hindered your development a bit more so than, you know, if you were able and got that coaching?
I mean, my dad always helped me and pushed me along, and we do train both southpaw and orthodox, but I think because my jab is so strong, it actually works in my benefit now, because I'm so tall and rangy. I've got that length on my opponents, and the jab can take you around the world, and that's what I think it can do with me. So
yeah, it's a common phrase in boxing, isn't it? Yeah. So if we go back to, obviously, when you're starting boxing, was there any inspirations for you? Was there any, obviously you mentioned a lot about you want to be an inspiration for the next generation of girls. Was there anyone that you looked up to when you were starting out?
Yeah, I mean, I watched the London Olympics. Nick Adams obviously won gold there, so she's a great inspiration to all girls. Katie Taylor, again, a great inspiration. But I also really like Savannah Marshall. I love how silent she is and polite she is, and she just like paved the way as well for female boxing. Yeah,
absolutely. And you look at what they've done in the professional ranks as well, and obviously that's something that you've got. We'll get onto that a little bit later on, but that's obviously something that perhaps you may have coming up as well. So were you obviously you mentioned that you're doing your cross country and things. Were you always athletic? Because we speak to some athletes where they say, actually, you know, until maybe, you know, year 7 when I went to high school and things, I wasn't. Were you always athletic, you know, just naturally, or did you have to push yourself to do that?
I think I've always been athletic. I mean, growing up in a single adult parent household with just my dad and my 2 brothers, I've always been fighting. I've always been wanting to be the best and be competitive. So everything I did, I tried my best and everything. But yeah, I would say I've always been very athletic. Yeah,
obviously. So we met your dad as well today. Really funny guy as well. Has he been a big part of your career so far?
100%. He goes to every tournament, every competition with Team GB. He's been everywhere: Bulgaria, Hungary, America, you name it, he's been there supporting me. He's my biggest fan, my biggest critic, but I wouldn't be where I am today without him.
Absolutely. I think that's obviously important, isn't it? We're going to talk a little bit now about sort of the safety blankets that you have, in terms of, do you get, you know, help when it comes to, you know, mental health is obviously a big thing that a lot of sports stars struggle with, and some are open with, some aren't so. Do you find, obviously, how would you manage that in terms of your actual boxing? Do you have sort of areas where, you know, right, if I need any help I can come to this person, I can go to that person, or are you a little bit more sort of secluded to yourself and you think, I can sort this with myself, sort of thing?
I mean, Team GB has a great facilities, great staff members to sort your nutrition, your mental health, etc. But I'm very much a person who likes to try and do it by herself. And then at the final push, I'll ask someone for their help.
Yeah, brilliant. So in terms of school, because obviously, you know, you're going to be going to a lot of schools as well. did you enjoy school? Was there any subjects that you didn't enjoy so much, or how was your school life for for a future boxing champion?
I mean, I did enjoy school. My dad always said education's so important. At least you'll see a lot of boxers today with no education. They used to skip school and box. Whereas my dad was like, no, boxing's a secondary. You have to do your school and you used to get your GCSEs. So I got my 10 GCSEs, then did 3 A-levels and got 3 Bs in law, politics and business. And now I'm 1 month away of finishing my business and marketing degree on the side with the Open University. So yeah, I did enjoy school. I mean, I used to sometimes leave with a dentist appointment occasionally when my dad used to drive me up to Warrington, so I could get there in time for training. But apart from that, I did enjoy school. And I'd say for anyone out there who's an athlete or an aspiring athlete, you do need to have a plan B, because only 1% of athletes do make it, so you've always got to have a plan B because of injuries and just life events, really.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, exactly. I think obviously it's key as well for children, regardless of their actual abilities. They need to make sure they've got something to fall back on as well. So I absolutely agree. Okay, so in terms of your boxing, you said you started at 13. You had your first fight very sort of soon afterwards, was it? It was a few weeks after. Talk to us a little bit about how that went. How did you find your first couple of fights? And yeah.
I mean, I had my first fight 6 weeks after BOXER, and some of the guys were literally saying to the coach, this isn't fair, I've been here for 2 years, why does she get to box? And I mean, it was a favour to a friend of his to basically try and get me hurt, to make me not come back. I lost in a close split decision. Some would argue that I won, but again, the home fighter, home judges, didn't get the decision, but that just spurred me on. People didn't realise that added fuel to my fire. You weren't going to make me quit. I wasn't going to give in that easily. So, and that's why that year in 2016 I then went on to win European bronze. So just puts into perspective, you can knock a girl down, but you're not going to knock the complete picture out of me. I'm going to come back and I'm going to train and I'm going to get better and better.
Absolutely. I mean, to come within the first year to then go to win bronze of any tournament is it's something incredible as well. So after that first defeat, obviously you feel like it was sort of one of them where they were trying to push you out of the sport. What did you sort of look towards to keep your motivation together? Because like I said, a lot of people could have faced that and been like, listen, they don't want me. I'll just pack this in and move on to something else. So what sort of spurred you on, as you were saying? Was there anything in particular?
I honestly don't know what spurred me on. In my head, I was just like, wow, I love boxing. Something just took over me. People don't understand it until they find a sport that they love and they enjoy. I just didn't want to quit. I didn't want to let myself down. I didn't want to let my dad down. He put a lot of effort in. My brothers had to come train with me, obviously, because he was a single parent. So I feel like everything that he put into me and instilled in me, you just can't quit just because of a minor setback.
So in terms of your training after, so obviously you mentioned you had your first 6 weeks where they didn't really want you there. You then moved gyms, if we're right. What was sort of the biggest learning curve for you? Of obviously you start boxing, then you're not really getting the attention that you warrant. Was there a big learning curve when you were actually getting that attention that you needed? Was there anything that you were going like, oh, I'll tell you what, this is actually much easier or much harder? Was there anything that sort of sticks out to you?
Yeah, I mean, so I started boxing at the start of 2015. I then stayed with that club until the end of 2016. I then moved to a club in Warrington, Merseyside in Cheshire, which is obviously a long way from South Birmingham. My dad would give up his free time after school to drive me the 2.5 hours there and the 2.5 hours back, because he could see inside me that I was going to give up boxing, because one of the coaches literally mentally abused me and put me down as a female boxer. He could see a massive change in me. I mean, that year in 2017, I won 17 fights on the trot, European gold medal, the Nationals, the Great British Championships, you name it, I won it that year. And I think that was thanks to that coach, Amanda Groark, a female previous Team GB coach, and my dad, who just made me happy again and enjoy the sport.
Yeah. Obviously, I think that's a big thing, is it? You hear a lot of athletes at even amateur level all the way up to professional. As soon as that love for the sport goes, it's hard to sort of get yourself to training every day. And obviously, you guys are in a combat sport as well, so you're getting punched constantly. You've got to have that desire, haven't you, to carry on. So we're going to talk a little bit now about your achievements, because obviously we've got, I've got a little list there as well of just some of you gold at the most recent one as well is the gold at the World Boxing Cup in Colorado. We'll talk a little bit about that later on, but that's obviously huge for you and your development. So the first obviously major one that you won was the gold at the European Junior Championships back in 2017. Sort of talk to us a little bit about that entire sort of tournament. Did you think when you went in, were you confident, or were you there for like, things go well, we could win this, or were you there for the experience? Talk to us a little bit about how you felt going into that.
I'd say going into that, honestly, I just want that little girl back. She was fearless. She just was like, I had a really hard draw. I drew Ukraine, Russia, Italy and Hungary. I mean, a lot of people fear boxing Russia and Ukraine. Obviously really good nations in boxing and martial arts. I was just so fearless. I was like, you know what, let's have it, let's do it. The lions on my chest, I was like, let's have it. And I got into the ring and I just showed that fearless sort of mentality, and I won every fight, took every fight as it came, and I did it. I did it for my country, and that's something I'm really proud of. Obviously, before I turn over to the professional ranks, I'd love to win a European gold medal again. It's very hard to do and accomplish, so that's one of my main things I want to achieve again.
Yeah. You can see how how happy you are, and you're sort of beaming with pride. We're just talking about it. So, we do need to talk about the Olympics we've just had in the summer. Unfortunately, you didn't qualify for that, and that is something that obviously was a target of yours. So a little bit about that and the setback, and how are you feeling, I guess is the first thing. It was fairly recently as well, so how are you feeling about everything?
I mean, the Paris Olympics is a bit of a sore story, but I mean, Rob McCracken, the performance director, put me forward for all 3 Olympic qualifications. I was really, really unlucky in the European Games last year when I drew a test of the world number 1, lost by a single point. Everyone thought I won in the arena, so that sort of like set me back confidence-wise, and I'm probably still trying to push forward, getting that confidence back to this day. Obviously, judges and politics all play a part in boxing. And then again, in Italy, in February, I sort of didn't turn up, lost after beating China and the Russian-Latvian girl, to the Turkish girl who just got the Olympic bronze. And then in Thailand, lost in a close split decision in the semi-final, so it's like, boxing has its setbacks and comebacks. You win, you lose, the highs and the lows. But I've only been on the programme for less than 18 months. So anyone in my position who's done that and won 3 golds and a silver already for their country on the Team G podium level should be like pleased with themselves. I've got a lot more to come.
Absolutely. So you mentioned a little bit there about you were fast tracked onto the podium squad as well, which is a really big honour, especially in boxing and things. Talk to us a little bit about that. Obviously, I know you were, were you expecting that to happen, or did that take you by surprise?
I mean, I was the Junior Commonwealth Games ambassador for a long time, and I won the Senior Elite Championships in 2022. So I thought I'd get picked for the Commonwealth Games, but to my disappointment, it wasn't to be. I didn't get picked. So then I travelled up to GB for just under like 4 to 6 months, unpaid, every week out, to prove myself, to spar the best, to get my name shown out there. And that's when Rob McCracken said, who's this girl, like, who is she? And fast-tracked me, took me to the Europeans, where I boxed the world number 1 and lost in a close split decision. And he was like, we need this girl. I'm putting her straight onto the podium squad. So I was fast-tracked instead of going on academy and going every 2 weeks. I was going every week as the number 157 kg. And that's how it started. And that's how I am today.
You can see how happy you are that. So you mentioned a little bit about confidence. Confidence in any sport's huge. Confidence in young people is huge. Confidence in anyone, it's a vital part of just day-to-day life. In terms of your events, obviously, because you are competing so often, especially as we mentioned before in the amateur ranks, you are competing many times a year. Your confidence can dip if you miss out on a tournament, or if you lose when you think you possibly should have won. Is there any ways that you manage to keep your confidence high? Is that something you struggle with, low confidence, or are you fairly sort of level-headed throughout?
I'd say I'm level-headed. I mean, the harder you train, the more confident you are going to a fight. So I think going forward now in my career with this next Olympic cycle, my confidence will only increase as long as I train really hard and leave nothing in the bank, leave no stone unturned, and that's what I'm going to do. So I will have high confidence going forward, because I'm not going to let someone beat me based off me not training 100% or not being mentally right. I'm going to get everything right this time.
Absolutely. So we'll talk a little bit about your training. I guess sort of take us through, your average day, your average week when you are training.
Yeah, so my dad drives me up to the English Institute of Sport in Sheffield. Even though I do drive, he just likes to be a part of it. Monday to Thursday, we live in Sheffield in Howson Flats that GB own. We go into the English Institute of Sport, the home of Team GB and the home of GB Boxing. We train 3 times a day. So, for example, after train on the Monday on the afternoon, Tuesday we wake up, we get weighed at 7 a.m. on the dot each morning. On the track at 7:30, the run will be planned by the S&C coaches. Back in the gym at 10:30 for sparring or bags or pads, and then back in the gym around 3 o'clock for a different boxing session. So 3 times a day, Monday to Thursday.
That's pretty intense. Is there a lot of it? Obviously, I know with sparring and things, you're wearing your head guards and bigger gloves. Is there any injuries that occur? Have you sort of suffered with any injuries?
I mean, I'm still suffering from an injury today from January 2023. My hands always are really sore. Obviously, you're punching, that's the job. I tore a ligament in my hand, and a piece of bone moved in my hand, so I had to undergo shockwave therapy and different physiotherapies on my hands, and there's just been like a built-up of scar tissue, so my hands are always going to hurt basically, no matter what I do. So they try and wrap my hands and protect my hands as much as they can. But yeah, there's been injuries, torn my hamstring, hurt my wrist, black eyes, bloody noses, you name it, boxers have it. So yeah, there's a lot of setbacks, but just got to get on with it.
Yeah, completely right. Obviously, when you mentioned there about black eyes and things, sort of come a long way from, before you started boxing, you're doing like beauty pageants and things, and now, like I said, you're getting punched in the face as part of your job. So as we move into the sort of day of competitions, what's a usual sort of day like for for you? Are you waking up really early? Some people like to try and sleep as late as they can. How is it for you?
I mean, the night before the competition, I literally can't sleep. You're thinking about it. What if this happens, etc., etc. Then you wake up, you're starving. Like I'm 57 kilos and 5'8". It's hard to make the weight, so you have to diet the day before, and obviously leading up to the competition, ensure you do it properly. And then all you think about is that first sip of that water after you've been weighed. So they would get weighed, and then obviously we get hydrated as much as possible, because unlike professional boxing, we box the same day as we get weighed. Just refuel, have my porridge, my eggs, my hydration tablets, get ready for the fight.
Yeah. So after we've competed, have we got any favourite cheat meals? Anything you're like, yeah, I'm going to reward myself? Anything like that?
I'd say a proper good, I sound like a proper brummy right now, but a proper good curry, yeah. A really good Indian, and a giant piece of like New York cheesecake. That would be like my go-to. But obviously, because I've dieted for so long, my eyes are bigger than my belly and I can never finish it.
Yeah, well, it's a great problem to have though, isn't it? So in terms of music's quite a big part, especially for athletes. Do you listen to music before you compete? Are you listening to music, after each fight, in between the next fight, or you're not really sort of into your music and someone else?
I never really used to be into music, but now everyone looks at me like this like girly girl. Oh my gosh, you should listen to like Taylor Swift. But really my music soundtrack when I'm warming up with my speakers, like Eminem, 50 Cent, Stormzy, you name it. It's like people are like, is this girl? Like, are you sure you should be listening to this? But yeah, it probably like pumps me up, gets me ready.
So anything rap, that's what gets you in the zone.
Yeah, that's what gets me in the zone.
So yeah, make sure there's loads of rap on the playlist then. So in terms of young children now, girls, especially girls, obviously trying to get into boxing, is there any advice that you'd have for them of what they can do? Obviously, you struggled a little bit when you started. You weren't given the help and sort of guidance that you should have been given. Is there any advice that you'd have for the next generation of boxers?
Just give it a go. Take the leap of faith and just give it a go. What have you got to lose? If you want to do it, you can do it. If you put your mind to anything, you can do it, regardless if that's boxing, running, training, maths or business, for example. You don't have to it doesn't have to be a sport. Whatever you do, give it 100%, try it out and see where it takes you.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to finish off a little bit about obviously professional boxing, because that is something that you may or may not do. We don't know. Obviously, an Olympic cycle's ended, and you've got some decisions to make, and obviously they're your decisions, so we won't go into them. But professional boxing is something that you are looking to do in the future at some point.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, professional boxing for females is taken off. Obviously, the likes of Katie Teller's been paving the way for that. It's a lot higher pay than amateur boxing. So yeah, it's definitely something that I'm interested in. I mean, I've had some offers already, spoke to some managers. I've just got to make a decision very soon about what I'm going to do.
Yeah, sort of keeping all your options available, because we do have, obviously, we could do another Olympic cycle, and obviously you could then go for that gold. Speak to us a little bit about what do the Olympics mean to you? How special would that be to go and compete in 2028?
I mean, every boxer's dream as an amateur boxer is the pinnacle of the sport, is that Olympic Games and to get that gold medal. People don't realise how hard it is and the work you have to do behind the scenes to get to that point. I mean, I can't knock myself too much. Obviously, been on the programme less than 2 years, so I've still got that route to go for that 4 years' time and get that Olympic medal. Just got to make a big decision.
Yeah. So, I mean, we're going to be with you every step of the way, cheering you on. So, as we finish, we're going to ask if you have any favourite sporting quotes, any motivational, sentences that you sort of try and think of when you may need them. I'm going to put you on the spot as well.
Yeah, definitely. I think my dad instilled in me, pressure is a privilege and diamonds form under pressure.
It's a great quote.
Yeah,
it's a great quote. So yeah, I think we're going to leave it on that, because I think we've learned quite a lot about it. Obviously, you've achieved so much at such a young age still, and definitely someone that we can keep, whether or not that's going to the Olympics in a few years. We've got no doubt you'll be there if you stay in the amateur ranks, or professional. I'm sure you'll be professional at some point on everyone's screens. So thank you for your time, Elise, really appreciate it. And everyone, that was the first episode back of the Athlete Podcast. Again, special thanks to Elise, and I will see you next time.